This is the directions for the still life drawing. This is half a summative grade, value, hierarchy, form, and depth. So far you've learned how to create visual textures, use value to create form, use hierarchy to create depth, use depth to create distance, and pencil techniques. So this is your measurement, your test for all of these. So what a still life is, and if you've done the Curious Hero unit week beforehand, you already know this, so it would be review. But basically, a still life is an arrangement of objects that are not alive. They're popular decorative artworks, but they also can have meaning. And for example, in Vanitas, every object represents something special. Clocks or hourglasses like this one represent time. The skull represents mortality, the fact that everybody dies. Coins and things, you can't take it with you. Books are knowledge. Flowers are fading beauty. And these are some examples of still life drawings that are not necessarily Vanitas. They are just still life drawings. And what to pay attention to here is notice that the background tends to be plain and that you have objects at different areas. You have some in the background, middle ground, and foreground. In all three of these pictures, there's really high contrast. There's areas of black and white, and texture is very emphasized. So for your studio prompt, you're going to create a still life drawing based on one of the resource photos, and I will show you those that are in the separate PowerPoint. Your drawing should have full value, use hierarchy to create depth, and show visual texture correctly. So your materials for this, you need your paper and your drawing tools. You have 2 days to do this. You pick out your reference photo. And all of the reference photos that I've taken have 3 objects in them that are arranged to show hierarchy with overlapping and to create depth. You start by creating a light line drawing of the arrangement, and then you begin shading, starting with the object that is furthest away from you. You check against your value scale and photo to make sure you're matching, and then you use erasers to add in highlights and clean up areas. And we're going to walk through this step by step. So here is my resource photo. There is pretty much a plain cloth background, a giant wine bottle, a deer antler, and then there is a deer skull. So the very first thing I did was I created a light line drawing of the arrangement. Your paper should be going vertically because that's the orientation of all the pictures, the same direction as the photographs. And I measured out to get relative proportion and size, and some of it I had to adjust as I drew later. But I have the giant wine bottle, the antler, and the deer skull, and then just a few folds in there to indicate where the cloth is. And then you start shading. You start with the object furthest away from you. So that would be, in this case, the antler is behind everything else. You can see part of it through the wine bottle. I started off by putting down the dark areas and then smudging it, and then going back with the eraser and working back and forth. And as I continued to work, I came back to the antler sometimes. The wine bottle, I started putting in the dark areas. When you're smudging something like the wine bottle, you work vertically, and then you come across horizontally. And here you can also see things that I had to fix. You can tell that my bottle sides are not quite symmetrical. It's kind of leaning. The side is a little higher than the other. And those were things that I needed to adjust. Here, I still don't quite have that fixed, but you check it against your value scale in your photo. Make sure your values are matching. The wine bottles are really dark. The antlers are kind of gray. And of course, the skull is going to be much later. Notice in the bottle that there is a reflection of the skull and the antler. Make sure you're checking your textures. The glass on the bottle is smooth. The antler has some grooves on it, and the skull is different. So at this stage, you know, a lot of times your darks need to become darker. And if you see mistakes, fix them. This could be a paper adjustment mistake too. You can see how the paper's slanted. But here the bottle is fixed. And once you have your darks in, go back with your eraser to add highlights, clean up areas. The background here isn't finished yet, but you can see where I use the eraser to put lights into the glass, bring out light areas on the antler and across the top of the skull. When you are finished with your still life, photograph it and upload to Classroom. Again, you have 2 days to do this, and I am going to show you the resource images. So the resource images are found here. It says Resources for Still Life. And you choose one of these photos. That's the same one that I did for the example. This one, it does not have the skull. It has the plaster hand instead. If you have drawn hands before, that's familiar. There's a lot more light on the bottle. And it also has the little gong from my office. The gong's still there, but the hand has been replaced with a bone. This is a leg bone from a hog. Here you have the bottle, a gourd birdhouse, and the little brass container from my office. The container is replaced by the set of stacking dishes. Okay? They all have the bottle. You can't avoid that. Remember to do the reflections in the bottle. Your background is plain. Just put in a few, indications of the folds and things. And then the objects all have different textures, and you choose which one you're most interested in and most comfortable drawing. All right, that's it.